think we'll kick off with Mr. McCoy.
I think we'll kick off with the obvious question. Why did you change your glasses and then not read anything?
Why did I what?
Why did you change your glasses and then not read anything?
Don't worry, your time will come. We'll start off with Mr. McCoy. He divides opinion. Lots of people think he's the best national hunt jockey in history, and others disagree. But I think that's largely irrelevant. He has been an absolute phenomenon, hasn't he, in the game?
Yeah, he has. I mean, look, how do you argue who's the greatest in any sport? The only thing you can argue about in sport is that Usain Bolt is the fastest man in the world, because that's a world record. After that, you can't argue who is the greatest. You can say Ronan scored the most points in Heineken Cup rugby. You can say Tony McCoy has written the most amount of winners. But that's always a debate, and that's what's great about sport. But the records that AP has set in racing are incredible. To have ridden 4,000 winners as a national hunt jockey, that's okay in America where they ride 6,000 and 7,000 and 8,000 at the one track on the flat. I mean, AP has gone all over the British Isles to ride 4,000 winners over jumps. I think it's incredible, the longevity and the consistency, year in, year out, day in, day out, to compete at the consistent, brilliant level he does is amazing. And
when the news broke that he was going to retire at the end of the season, I think you're 36 this year. And before I ask this question, I think you've been riding as well as you've ever ridden. But it must have made you think almost immediately, geez, I'm going to face that sooner rather than later, because realistically, the bulk of your career is behind you.
Yeah, that's what AP kept saying for the last 10 years. There's more Shetlands behind me than there is in front of me, and he was right. But when I look at AP, I still am 5 years and 10 days younger than him. So I'd be hoping I have another 5 years left. I suppose that was part of the reason I stopped riding in the UK, and that I wanted to get as long over as I could, and base myself back in Ireland. So I have no thoughts of retirement anyway. We're not all like you.
Patience is a virtue.
Some are blessed with it, others aren't.
What about at home? I mean, you've got Gillian, you've got 3 little girls. You'll be 36 this year. It's still a very dangerous game. You've said yourself that it's the only profession where 2 ambulances follow every day. Is there any pressure at home?
No, definitely not. Gillian has always been hugely supportive of me, and still is. And no, I don't suppose I see it that way. I guess when you have kids and you get a bit older, you realise that, Jesus, I have to earn more money and provide more for all these people going forward. And I suppose when you have 3 girls, you think of all the costs that's going to entail.
And if you don't mind me saying so, hopefully they're going to cost you the sweep, because chances are they're going to be as intelligent as the mother.
Well, hopefully they are. I mean, if they get my looks and her brains, they'll be flying.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. What about, say, 2, 3, 4, 5 years' time? You're going to have to face the inevitable. Is training still an option?
Looking at the current climate, when you look at the likes of, say, Charlie Swan, Joanna Morgan, people like that, like training racehorses it's a big ask, and financially it's a huge risk to take. I mean, what I would have to plough into my own place in capital to start up at 40 training would be a huge investment, and then to make it pay. I mean, the last person to get paid in racing is the trainer. You can't have a bet without giving the bookmaker the money. You can't get the feed without paying the feed man. The vet won't come if you don't pay him. The last fella to get paid is the trainer, and lots of them don't get paid.
So what's the alternative? I mean, would you take my job?
I'd like something a bit more challenging than that.
And the other problem you'd have, of course, is that if you did get it, you'd actually have to write something.
Yeah, that'd be a bit of a killer, but sure, I can just talk down the phone anyway.
Just to lighten the mood a little, he said, glancing to his right. They decide to make a film of Ruby's life and times. Who plays Ruby? I mean, I have my own ideas.
Who plays me?
Yeah.
Sure, he wouldn't have to be that talented an actor. I mean, he'd spend most of his time in a hospital bed or up in the back of a horse. He wouldn't exactly be vexed. I don't know. I don't know. You tell me.
Well, the fella I had in mind was Danny DeVito.
suppose, yeah. Why not?
You know, right height and ruggedly handsome.
You chat me up.
Okay, you don't know who plays you. Who play your father?
Who play Dad? I suppose the only fella that could argue like Dad could, whether he's right or wrong, and be adamant that he's right, would be you, but you can't act.
I'd say the people here beg to differ.
There's a difference between acting and bullshitting, you know what I mean? And, you know, to convince yourself you're right, you know.
Right. You've had a great career, but is there anything gnawing at you that you should have done, shouldn't have done through your racing career?
Yeah, plenty.
Well,
Not
give us one.
at me, but there's loads of different races that you've ridden that you think should have done that differently, should have done that, should have ridden that one. There's no doubt I should have ridden Denman instead of riding Cato Star. I'd love another go on Comanche Court in the Gold Cup. I would definitely not have ridden any of the horses I got hurt off, but that's all hindsight, and you can't look back and think I should have done that. All you can do is learn from the lesson and move on. If you spent your whole life looking back, you'd never achieve anything going forward. You have to put it behind you and move on and try and learn from the mistakes and the lessons you've learned. But the people who stand there looking back the whole time, they have no chance.
And watching the box pop there, I thought one question was excellent. We're moving into the biggest time of the year now, Cheltenham, Aintree, Fairyhouse, Punchestown. If there was one horse outside of Willie Mullins' yard that you could ride, what would it be?
Someone asked me the same question the other day. I suppose you'd have to plumb for Sylvain Conti in the Gold Cup. He does look the one that we all have to beat. Having said that, he's been there twice before, not one, but he does look to have an outstanding chance in the biggest race, so that'd be about the only one.
What's the most overrated thing in the world?
I don't know. I've no idea.
Excellent answer.
Why?
No, well, I mean, if you don't know, you don't know. But there are dozens of possibilities.
Did you think I was going to hang myself out like your man did in the late last week and say something stupid, did you?
But would you not avail of the opportunity to tell us something?
Look, just because I didn't spend my whole life talking about set plays and scrums and I'm able to have a different conversation, I saw you coming.
You saw me coming. If there was one thing you could change about your life, what would it be?
Very little, to be honest with you. No, I don't think I have a great family. Everyone's healthy, everyone's well. I don't think there's anything I'd really want to change. No, I'd be fairly happy with where we are and what we're doing.
What person do you most admire in the world?
My father.
And why?
Because he's rock solid. He's very honest. He's a great opinion. He's loyal. And if the shit hits the fan, you've the right man behind you.
And you're evidence that an apple doesn't fall too far from a tree.
Why is that?
Because you're inclined to spit it out yourself, except when you're asked questions about the Late Late Show.
Sure, look, I wouldn't be as forthright maybe as Dad. I'd be a little bit deeper maybe, but no, he's the one person I'd want in my corner anyway.
Just wait, it'll take a small bit more time, that's all.
What, man?
For you to be like your father, totally.
I'm going to go bald as well. It's great.
No, but when you have more money, you'll be grand. You'll spit out then.
I doubt it.
What really annoys you? And before you answer that question, don't say idiots asking silly questions.
I hate lazy people.
You hate what?
Lazy people.
Okay.
I hate people who don't want to work. I hate people who... Not hate, that's the wrong word. I have no admiration for lazy people. I think you have to be willing to work, get out of bed, and do an... And people should get an honest day's pay for an honest day's work. I have no admiration for people who don't want to work.
What's the best place you've ever visited?
The Winners' Enclosure in Cheltenham.
Can't argue with that. What's your biggest fear?
My biggest fear is Gillian ringing me and telling me there's something wrong with one of the kids.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. One thing you would like to do before you die?
One thing I'd do before I die. I don't plan on dying soon, so one thing I'd like to do before I die. I could say all the stupid things like I'd love to have played for Ireland, or I'd love to have played in Croke Park or something like that. But yeah, I probably would love to perform in Croke Park, but you can't ride a horse around Croke Park. It'd be some shite race.
And would you like to have played for Cork or Kildare? Well, Cork obviously, so Kildare never win.
See, when you're playing an amateur sport, it's not about winning, it's about taking part. So the GA doesn't matter, it's an amateur sport.
I'm impressed.
It's about taking part. So, that's the ethos of it, so we'll stick with that.
What's your earliest racing memory?
My dad winning the Fox Hunters and Attitude Adjuster, when I should have remembered Don Run winning the Gold Cup a half an hour before, but I remember the Fox Hunters.
And do you remember I remember the ride he gave it. Like, he hit it about 47 times. It was one of the rides of the century.
He beat a fella called Tim Thompson-Jones who couldn't use the whip, so he had a bit of an advantage. Yeah, but he did. He hit him where it had hair, but they were the rules in those days, and you rode to the rules.
Absolutely. What's your guiltiest pleasure?
McDonald's.
You've had a shit day, right? You've been brought down, fell, everything goes wrong at the races. Is there one jockey in the weigh room, Britain or Ireland, who has the capacity to make you see the bright side?
I would say most of them are probably a fraction afraid of me in that sense. I'd say Barry Geraghty might say something, or maybe Mackay. But I'd say the rest of them, when I be in that kind of humour, tend to stay away.
And they're afraid of you?
A little bit. In that sense, you have to think now that, as you keep reminding me that I'm getting this way closer to retirement, I'm a good bit older than the rest of them. So is Barry Geraghty. Like, I mean, if I sit down beside Johnny Burke or Paul Townend or Brian Cooper, like, they're 14 to 16 to 18 years younger than me. So they're not really going to start slagging me when I've had a shit day. Yeah. Barry Geraghty might, Tony Mackay might, but the young lads won't.
Yeah. Okay, on to the serious business, Cheltenham. And obviously, most people are interested in whether it'll be Faheen or Hurricane Fly. Now, all the sentimentalists want you to ride Hurricane Fly, but Sentiment cost you a Gold Cup once before, so presumably there's no possibility that Sentiment is going to play any part.
Absolutely not, no.
So which one are you going to ride?
Whichever one I think will win next Sunday.
Which one? When they're declared?
Yeah.
And can you offer examiner people anything more than that?
No.
Okay.
I might put it in the article next Saturday, but other than that,
that's fair enough.
It might be 24 hours ahead of everybody else, but that'll be about it.
Okay, so Hurricane Fly, he's not good enough anyway. The ground is not going to be soft enough.
According to Keane.
Okay, and Faheen is a brilliant horse.
He's a very good horse, yeah.
Yeah, and how is he going at home?
They're both in great nick. They both worked, today's Friday, Thursday. They both worked yesterday morning. They're a really good order, and Arctic Fire is flying as well.
Yeah, well, you know what I think of him.
No.
He's a shit.
You lost a few quid in him somewhere, Pat, did you?
No. No, do you remember in Down Royal, the start of the season, when you fancied him and I said to you, he's a shit, and you came swinging on the bridle and a mare beat you?
He wasn't fit. We'll forgive him.
Bullshit. Right, the other horse I want to ask you about is probably the best novice hurdler we've seen, Douvan. Willie says he's as nice a horse as he's ever taken to Cheltenham, and you keep telling me that he won't be a horse until this time next year. So he hasn't run anything since early January. Physically, how is he done?
He's in great form. He's fit and he's well, but as I was saying to you before he even ran in Gorn, he is a big shell of a horse. I mean, he's like looking at a 16, 17-year-old footballer. You think, Jesus, when he puts on condition and strengthens into a man at 22, how good is he going to be then? Douvan is the same when you look at him. He's all bone, ribs. When he puts on the strength and muscle to go with the frame he has, like Faheen did. Like this time last year, Faheen was only a shell of a horse and he won the novice hurdle. This year, he's way more condition, way more muscle, and he looks a better horse. And I think Douvan will do the same. You're hoping.
And do you get to sit on Douvan at home?
Very rarely. Horses, I suppose, like the likes of Douvan that are a bit lighter and a bit almost look fragile. Willie Mullins doesn't let me go near them for fear I break them up on them. But they do less and they take less to train and things like that. But I only get to ride him at the track.
And given your sort of your worries about his physicality, do you still envisage him winning?
Of course I do, but I envisage every horse I'm riding in Cheltenham winning. There's still a bit of a romantic in me, and I'm naive enough to think that they all will win. They won't, but I'll still go in there thinking they will. Yeah,
but you're not a fool either. I mean, is he? Would you put him in the same sort of bracket as Vatour and Faheen going last year?
I would, yeah.
You would. That's fair enough. A horse that Cork people love and are going to love even more is On the Sue, owned by Mr. O'Connell from Glenmire. You know, he really lights up your fire, doesn't he?
He does. I think he's an amazing horse. You just hope that he copes with, he'll cope with the travelling because we brought him to Athy twice last year. That's not going to bother him. But you just hope that he copes with the occasion. He is highly strung. And Cheltenham is a completely different environment. It's 70,000, 55, 60,000 people, whatever it is. But it's way more than racehorses are used to running in front of. So if he just copes with the environment, that's my only worry.
He must be an absolute thrill to ride.
Oh, he is. Just fall over. There's no tactical cleverness or genius to riding him. It's just you fall over and he bucks out and goes, wears his heart in his sleeve. He goes a fair rate of knots, but the one thing about him is that he does have a brain when you're riding him. You feel he's looking at the fences and he's having a look at what he's doing. He's not just charging down stupidly. When he does everything quickly and rapidly, there's definitely a brain in there.
And what about the mare, Annie Power? She's had her problems. She's gone straight to Cheltenham for the mare's hurdle. What sort of shape is she in? She's
in good form. She missed December with a hind leg injury, but she's been on the go since the 1st of January. She hasn't missed a day. That's 4 4 8 and 9 weeks on a mare that wasn't fit to run when she got the injury. Yeah, she'll be 100%.
And like Willie can do that. He can take a horse. He's done it with Quevegas several times.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't be worried about it at all. When you look at the opposition, she's head and shoulders above him.
What about a horse that I think certainly got under my radar, and I suspect got under yours a little, Nicholas Canyon in the Neptune?
He's still going under my radar. If you're watching him at home every morning, you just can't figure out how he can be so good at the track. He's not a very good workhorse, but his form is rock solid. Even yesterday, SW10 franked his form by winning in Thurles. He run in the Neptune. I hope he settles better in Cheltenham than he did in Leopardstown. He was a bit keen in Leopardstown.
And is it true that in the lead into Leopardstown that Alvisioville absolutely galloped all over him in the Curragh?
The Curragh, at home, the Curragh. I'd say he galloped all over him 6 times.
6 times. And yet when they got onto the track, Nicholas Canyon beat him out the gate.
Yeah.
And that's usually a sign of a real proper horse, isn't it?
Well, it is. the horse that keeps it for the racecourse, but you'd still have to think Alvisioville was disappointing on the day and could be a dark horse wherever he runs.
And what about Vatour, who's obviously going to be rerouted to the JLT with On the Sue going for the Arkle?
Why is he being rerouted?
Well, I would have penciled him in as a good thing originally for the Arkle. I don't see the need for him to go to 2.5, but you probably have a different opinion.
You're making your own assumptions that he's been rerouted in your mind, but no one was ever said that he was going for the Arkle, so he hasn't been rerouted. He's going where he was always intended to go, further, out and trip. I think he could be a Gold Cup horse next year. He's going to 2.5 this year. And I think he's a very, very good horse.
And what about another horse that Willie's been very patient with, Black Hercules, who's done everything asked of him, but he hasn't been asked to do too much, going for the Albert Bartlett?
Yeah, I guess the only problem with that is we have a woeful record in the Albert Bartlett.
Yeah.
Or you can blame me for Boston Bob getting beaten and not taking the blame for the rest of them. But we have a woeful record in the race. He's going really well, just with 3 man novice hurdlers, you don't know, and I'd imagine we could have sort of 4 or 5 runners in the race. And
despite suffering financially with Boston Bob, I never blamed you.
That's no problem. I blame myself, though.
What about the Gold Cup? Presume you'll ride Jackadam.
I don't know. We've Boston Bob on his own and Jackadam. Look, Jackadam looks the improver. He's only a 6-year-old. He could potentially be a very good horse. But, on his own could beat a short head last year. Boston Bob hasn't sparked on the track this year for some reason, but I do know there's a big engine in there. Look, they're 3 16-to-1 shots. I'm going to have to ride one of them. Which one? Again, we'll see how they all work in Leopardstown tomorrow and June next week.
And Silviniaco Conti has looked a better horse this year than previously, hasn't he?
He has. They fitted him with cheek pieces. The only reservation I have about him is stamina. Gold Cup is 3 1/4. It sounds stupid, but that last furlong and a half, when you go beyond 3 miles, they'll all get 3.5 miles a furlong, but to get the 3 miles 2 furlongs.
And he didn't get it last year because he was a winner jumping the last.
Yeah, he was. He couldn't. You said jumping the last year. He finishes 4th. People would have laughed at you, but he did. He stopped. Maybe he won't with the cheek pieces, but I don't think the cheek pieces will bring in stamina.
And just to finish up, presumably a good festival for Ruby is 1 winner and walk out unaided on the Friday.
Yeah, It is. I mean, people say, "Oh, what are you on about the rides you have? How could you be happy with one winner?" But after last year, I would certainly be happy just to walk out there.
Yeah. And just, you're sitting on a stool, one horse, if it gets beaten, that might cause you to fall off that stool.
Simply because of the nature of the race, any power.
Thank you.